But I started when I was 15 years old. I created a business with my dad. It was called Subscriber Club, and it was a monetization platform for YouTubers. So actually, it's a similar idea to Patreon.
Mm.
Um, it was just an idea that we kind of created together because my dad's an entrepreneur, and I learned a lot about business from him. And because I had this business for YouTubers, it made sense for me to create a YouTube channel to understand how like the back end works for YouTubers. The business Subscriber Club failed, but I kept making videos, and then I did throughout high school, and then throughout college, and then I dropped out of college when it really took off and built Smile Squad, which is our comedy channel. I found this formula of comedy skits that were very relatable, that were positive, and that worked. And once I found that formula, I kept building that channel out. I hired a team, built into a media company, and then built another channel, the Markian channel, where we did like cultural vlogs, and then stopped this year. So it's been
So
a
you're
10-year chapter of my life.
recently retired.
Retired from social media as a content creator.
Yeah. So if people are wondering where he has been, that's what's been going on. He got burnt out from making content for 10 years, and then he just was like, I'm gonna pack up and just travel the world and live my life,
Yeah.
which I commend.
Yeah, it was kind of still surreal to be in this position and to say to close the chapter, like
Mhm.
even knowing that it's an option. And
And
like you said, last
yeah.
year I was burnt out. I'd been doing it for 10 years, managing people, building a company it was stressful, and I'd never done it before. So there was a lot of learning experiences that came with that. And the channel was declining naturally. We made the same style of content for years, and people got bored of it. Of course, it got outdated, and I just didn't have any energy to build a new brand. And a lot of things felt like they were crumbling in my life. So I had this idea of what if I just stopped? What if I just stopped, dropped everything, left my life in LA to go travel around the world on a self-discovery journey? And that's what I did. So I've been traveling around the world for the last 6 months. And this is my first social media appearance.
Yeah, I'm honored that, you're making your first social media appearance on the podcast.
Yeah.
Uh, it's it's very noble of you, and brave, I feel like, to do that because, I mean, you have a fan base of over what, 7 million, maybe more,
Yeah.
probably. I'm not sure, and it's scary to just leave all of that, with all those numbers. I feel like even if you transitioned into something else, you could still make money some other way, turn it into another business venture. But you really just listen to yourself, and you're now, that's what we say in Hawaii, like your gut, like your innermost being,
Mm-hmm.
and you just did what was best for you.
Yeah.
And I think people gotta look at that as somebody who's young and already making this tough decision, as something very commendable, because there's people that stay in their line of work for years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, maybe even 40 years in a job that they hate, or they're just doing something just to get by, you know? They're not really pursuing their passion. You see a lot of people at like 40 change their career or whatever, which, sometimes it takes you that long to discover what you really want. Um,
Yeah. The question that was in my mind, like as I'm going through this process, and as I considered that I could just stop and just travel, and I've saved up some money to do that, was at what point does it stop? Like at what point do you stop working in this cycle? Um, and do you just work for the rest of your life to save up money, and then when you're old, then you spend it? Or can you take a break and then take a step back and figure out what you actually want to do in your life and what fulfills you at each chapter of your life? Because I loved my social media experience for the time that it was, and then I was ready to move on. So it worked for me for a period of my life, and then now it's a different period of my life, and maybe it'll come back or maybe it won't. So
mm,
I don't know what will happen in the future.
yeah. So if I asked you, will you ever return to social media? You won't have an answer.
I have no idea. When
Hmm.
people ask me, yeah, what are you going to do next? And my mind is so far away from next. It's now. That's where my mind is just enjoying my life right now and just traveling and taking advantage of this privilege that I have to be able to go travel without working and learn and see different cultures and learn about myself, because that's ultimately the purpose, is discover myself, because I've never wondered or explored myself in that way because the last 10 years of my life has been about building the business, making a YouTube video every week, uh, growing the channel, making money, all these things. And so my motto for this chapter is stop doing and start being,
Mhm.
and focus on the things that I didn't prioritize before, which I almost consciously, I was very conscious about prioritizing business first before, but now it's like, oh, how can I explore more of my friendships or my family or myself instead of the business and the work?
That's super cool. It almost makes me a little scared about my career path. I feel like I'm in that grind mode where I'm building and I'm hustling and growing things. And I'm thinking, geez, when will this ever end? At what point does this end and I just take a break?
I think the best thing you can
Mhm,
do is just be conscious about how you're feeling.
mhm,
And I think I wouldn't be able to take have the luxury of traveling right now if I didn't work all those years. And all those years, again, they led to so much impact in the world, to all the people that we reached, that we inspired with our content. So I'm really grateful for that chapter, and I'm grateful that I was able to break the cycle when
mhm.
it felt right. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's the gut feeling. When I had this idea of like, wait, what if I just stopped and went to travel? It felt right, and that was the only signal that I needed to pursue that.
Yeah, it's cool that you're so aware of it too, because you see a lot of athletes, they don't know when to retire and they stay in way longer than they should have. And then they just keep losing, they keep embarrassing themselves, or because they just don't know when to quit because they're like, okay, what's life after this? This is all I know.
It comes so much comes down to our perception of our own identity. And I think a lot of people attach their identity to their work.
Hmm.
So for an athlete, for example, it's like, if I'm not an athlete, then who am I?
Hmm.
And that's scary for a lot of people because they they fear what that might look like. And I think a lot of my self-discovery was been, who am I? That was the big question last year for me to figure out. It's, who am I? And I did some retreats. I did a silent retreat, which was super epic. I did some workshops. I did some seminars. I like wanted to try all these different types of personal development resources. Just traveling alone has been such an incredible opportunity for me to be with myself every day and to be aware of my every thought, every emotion that comes up, to understand myself better. So it's been really powerful
Wow.
for that.
Where are some places you've been over the last couple months?
I've done 16 countries in the last 6 months.
Wow. People don't even do that in 16 years.
Yeah, I started in Mexico, then I went to North Africa, then I went to Europe, then I went to Asia, then Australia, then the Pacific Islands, and now I'm gonna go back to LA to go to South America probably. So I've literally completed a tour of the world, which is crazy. And I think what would be even crazier would be to find a way if I could do all the 7 continents
Yeah.
and
If
hit them.
anybody got some Antarctica connects,